Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna. I welcome everyone to this short session on the art of learning Sanskrit shlokas. In this short video, we will be seeing the art of learning shlokas, and we will see various reasons why we have to learn Sanskrit shlokas and how we have to learn Sanskrit shlokas. The importance of learning shlokas and the method of learning shlokas we will see in this small video. And as we see, these Sanskrit shlokas are written by very ancient sages. They are recorded in our ancient scriptures. Are they still relevant? Are they still relevant in our current lives in this current age of Kali? So actually, these great sages like Vyasadev, Narada Muni and several other great rishis, they have kept deep practical wisdom of life in the form of these shlokas in our scriptures. In computers, we have this zip file, compressed file. The file may be like 1 MB in size, but once you uncompress, unzip the file, it may reveal 5 MB data or 10 MB data. So similarly, one Sanskrit shloka from Bhagavad-gita or Srimad Bhagavatam or any other Vaishnava scripture could be just 4 lines. But within these 4 lines of the shloka, deep practical wisdom is embedded. So the great sages have kept very deep wisdom and practical application perspectives and deep philosophy and very nectarian descriptions of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna's names, forms and activities. All this they have embedded in the series of shlokas presented in Bhagavad-gita, Srimad Bhagavatam and various other Vaishnava scriptures. Thus one shloka, although it is so short, one small poem, poetry, piece of poetry, although it is so small as 4 lines, it has multiple meanings also. Just like you keep a prism in sunlight, so when that prism is exposed to sunlight, it can produce multiple colors, several colors. Similarly, when we meditate on the meaning of one shloka, that shloka can reveal so many lessons to all of us, depending on our own approach, our own maturity. So that's why if you read Srimad Bhagavad-gita or Srimad Bhagavatam, the shloka may be 4 lines, but Srila Prabhupada and several other Vaishnava acharyas give several lines of purport. The shloka is 4 lines, but the purport can be like 4 pages also sometimes. Means these 4 pages of explanation is embedded within that 4 lines of shloka. Thus, Sanskrit shlokas are very eloquently composed by ancient sages, and if we learn those shlokas and if we try to understand the meaning of the shlokas, definitely we can lead our lives in a very more effective manner. Now, especially Srimad Bhagavad-gita is spoken directly by Krishna. Krishna speaks so many shlokas in Bhagavad-gita. There are 700 shlokas. Some were spoken by Sanjaya, some were spoken by Arjuna, and maximum of these shlokas were spoken by Lord Krishna. And through these Sanskrit shlokas, Krishna gives us deep practical wisdom that we can apply in our lives. And Lord Krishna teaches us how to speak, how to eat, how to recreate, how to perform bhakti, how to love God, how to worship Him. All these things Krishna teaches all of us through these Sanskrit shlokas in Bhagavad-gita. Similarly, in Srimad Bhagavatam, Vyasadev has written so many shlokas. Through those shlokas, we understand the nectarian pastimes of Krishna. We also understand several other practical application perspectives. So now, let us see. Now, learning a shloka is not just parrot-like repetition. Now, a parrot also may learn some small piece of poetry and may try to repeat the words that we utter, we teach the parrot. But just repeating the Sanskrit shloka is at one level, understanding the meaning of that shloka is on another level, and trying to apply that meaning in our lives is on a higher level. At least let's begin with the recitation of the shloka. First uttering the shloka, pronouncing the shloka. How to learn shlokas? I'll give 5 tips. How to learn shlokas. So first tip is not actually a tip, it's basically creation of mood. For us to learn a shloka, we need to prepare our mood. First we have to fall in love with the shloka. The first method is fall in love with the shloka. You may fall in love with the shloka either for its meaning or for its meter. Some shlokas are very nicely composed, they are rhyming so nicely and they have such sweet words, and you love that shloka for its rhyming, for its meter or for its melody, the way in which it is sung. Every shloka can be sung in multiple ways, right? So if you fall in love with the melody of the shloka or meaning of the shloka, sometimes some shlokas have deep and profound meaning that is very much relevant to our lives. So when you fall in love with the meaning and meter of the shloka, you naturally remember the shloka, right? So Bhagavatam shlokas are very attractive to the mind with their meaning, and very attractive to the ears with their meter, with their sound. That's why Parikshit Maharaj says in Bhagavatam, Nivritta tarshair upagiyamana bhavaushadhat shrotra manobhiramat ka uttama shloka gunanuvadat puman virajyeta vina pashughanat. Nivritta tarshair upagiyamanat bhavaushadhat shrotra manobhiramat. Shrotra mana. Shrota means ears, mana means mind or heart. So Bhagavatam shlokas are very attractive to the ears with their sound and heart with their meaning. So when the meaning impresses our heart or when the meter impresses our ears, we just fall in love with the shloka and we just remember the shloka. Several shlokas are describing Krishna's sweet qualities and pastimes, right? So first way of learning the shloka is to fall in love with its meter or meaning. Second tip, hear the pronunciation and practice it yourself. Sometimes in the initial days we may not be able to pronounce the Sanskrit words very clearly, but at a very young age if you manage to practice the recitation of shlokas by hearing proper recitation, then you can automatically imbibe. For example, every day we go for Mangalarti, we chant Narasimha prayers. So generally we may not keep a song book while chanting Narasimha prayers, right? Because many devotees, even small children also remember Narasimha Stotra because they have repeatedly heard that Narasimha Stotra. So this prayer to Lord Narasimha Dev, Namaste Narasimhaya Prahalada Halada Daini, so that everybody remembers because they have heard it repeatedly. So repeatedly hearing the recitation of a shloka is one of the most important and vital factors to learn that shloka. Even outside people also, they may learn some songs, Bollywood songs or some kind of movie songs or materialistic songs. So they may not have a song book. We have Vaishnava song book. They may not have this Bollywood song book. But they remember the shloka, remember the song, because somehow they like the meaning of the song, or they like the music of the song, or they like the person who sang that song, or they like the actor in that song. Now, in our Bhagavatam shlokas, they are spoken by Vyasadeva, they are spoken by Sukadeva Goswami. They are about Krishna. They are written in perfect meter. They are so pleasing to the ears. So when we fall in love with any of these items, if we are fans of Krishna, then we try to remember all the shlokas that Krishna spoke in Bhagavad-gita. If we are fans of Prahalad Maharaj, we like him. So Prahalad Maharaj sang this shloka, he spoke this shloka, let me memorize this. Or we like Dhruva Maharaj a lot, or we like Kunti Maharani a lot. So we just naturally remember all the songs sung by Kunti, right? All the prayers recited by Kunti. So we develop love for the book or the character or personality, then naturally we tend to memorize. Now that's more about the first reason only. Now the second point here is hear proper recitation. When somebody is pronouncing the shlokas very clearly and reciting them in proper meter, then you hear that and then practice yourself. Then it's natural for you to just repeat. That's why in our temples, one devotee is singing Samsara Davanala prayer, or in the morning Bhagavatam class, one devotee is reciting the Sanskrit shloka line by line, the devotees would repeat. Like that some 3-4 times he does, and even now audience will recite the shloka and everybody will repeat. So like that, by repeatedly hearing the pronunciation and practicing it ourselves, we learn the shloka. Okay, there are so many pre-recorded Sanskrit recitations of the shlokas. Several devotees chant the shlokas, if you remember them. Many devotees have these cassettes or CDs where Narsimha prayers are being sung, Tulasi Arati is being sung, or Bhagavatam prayers, or Bhagavad-gita recitations. So many recitations are there. So we hear proper recitations done by devotees and we get familiar with the pronunciation and we can repeat it ourselves. Third way, become familiar with the tune and meaning. Now, a Sanskrit shloka may be recited simply like that, okay, like a prose, not recitation, just reading. So reading is one level, but if you recite in a proper meter, proper tune, then it's quite possible that it sits in our memory more. For example, now Krishna says in Bhagavad-gita, Patram pushpam phalam toyam yome bhaktya prayachati tadaham bhaktipahratam ashnami prayatatmanaha. I read this shloka as if it's a prose sentence. But the same shloka can be recited. Patram pushpam phalam toyam yome bhaktya prayachati tadaham bhaktipahratam ashnami prayatatmanaha. So when you recite the same shloka in a meter, there is more possibility that the shloka sits in our memory. So don't read the Sanskrit shlokas like prose, like you read normal text, a paragraph. So if you recite it in a meter, there is more possibility of memorizing it, right? And it's also, you can relish it nicely, right? Patram pushpam phalam toyam yome bhaktya prayachati tadaham bhaktipahritam ashnami prayatatmanaha. I recited the same shloka in a different meter, different tune. Now this shloka can be recited in multiple meters, right? Some South Indian devotees may recite in a different way, right? And North Indian devotees may recite in a different way. Somehow or the other, whichever tune you like, you pick up that tune and recite the Sanskrit shloka in that tune, you can memorize it better. So, and also try to become familiar with the meaning. Patram means a leaf. Pushpam means a flower. Phalam means fruit. Toyam means water. Patram pushpam phalam toyam. So first line meaning you understood. Yome bhaktya prayachati. Bhaktya means with devotion. If you offer either of these 4 items to Krishna, Krishna will accept it. That's the meaning of the shloka. Now become familiar with the meanings. That's why if you read Prabhupada's book, he writes the shloka in Devanagari and also in the English transliteration, Roman transliteration, and then he gives meanings of every word of the shloka. Okay. Then he also, for example, man mana bhava mad bhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru. So when Krishna says like this, Prabhupada gives man means what, mana means what, bhava, mad, bhakto. He gives word-to-word meanings. Then he generates an English translation for it and he elaborately explains it in the purport. So our acharyas have kept lot of efforts to make us familiar with the shlokas, and let us reciprocate with their efforts by trying to read through their explanations, right? So we should become familiar with the tune and the meaning of the shloka, then we can memorize it better. Then fourth reason or fourth way of learning shloka is repeatedly recite. Just by one recitation you may not memorize. For example, Krishna says in Bhagavad-gita, Sarvadharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshayishyami ma shuchaha. you want to memorize this shloka. Okay. Now you see, if you recite the entire shloka once, you may not remember. Just break it into pieces. There are 4 lines in this shloka. Take the first line. Sarva dharman parityajya. Recite it 10 times. Sarva dharman parityajya. 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 Like that 4-5 times you recite. Then go to the next line. Mamekam sharanam vraja. Mamekam sharanam vraja. Mamekam sharanam vraja. Then aham tvam sarva papebhyo. Aham tvam sarva papebhyo. Aham tvam sarva papebhyo. Aham tvam sarva papebhyo. Like that you recite fast, you recite slowly. So somehow or the other you meditate on 1 line at a time. So give your mind a smaller task. So 4 lines seems to be a big project. If you focus on 1 line, just by reciting 10 times it may sit in your memory. But by reciting like that 10 times, it may sit in your temporary memory. Now by reciting each line 10 times and again reciting 2 lines at a time, Sarva dharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja, Sarva dharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja. Like that you may take 2 lines and then recite repeatedly. So like that somehow or the other you memorize this shloka within 10-15 minutes. But after 2 hours, try to check your memory. Will you be able to remember it? That's why we need to repeatedly recite, not only at one time, we need to repeatedly recite at multiple times, either in a day or in multiple days. So now try to recite the shloka word by word and line by line and full. And by that it will sit in your memory. But for you to remember it always, forever, not just within that 10-15 minutes of time, you have to allocate some time. So that is the 5th way of reciting the shloka, of learning the shloka. So the last way, I will conclude with this. Now you see, every day morning 4:30 there is Mangala Arati. Every day morning 4:30 we are beginning our day with Samsara Dava Nalalidha Loka Tranaya Karunya Ghana Ghanatvam. So today morning I recited these 8 shlokas of this Guru Ashtakam. Tomorrow morning also I will recite the same shlokas at the same time. Next day morning also I do the same thing. So like that every day morning I am reciting the same set of shlokas with other devotees at the same time. So now I don't have to keep a songbook in front of me. It's always there in the memory, right? Similarly, if you want to learn some Bhagavad-gita shlokas or Bhagavatam shlokas, if you keep certain set of shlokas that you want to memorize, just maybe a sheet with 10 shlokas. Your target is to memorize these 10 shlokas. You keep those 10 shlokas in front of you, right? Today, say at 7 o'clock, say in the evening 7 o'clock, you recited these 10 shlokas, say 10 times. So one shloka recitation will hardly take some 10-20 seconds, not more than that, right? However slowly you recite. So now reciting these 10 shlokas once may take hardly some 3-4 minutes. So you may allocate some 15 minutes and recite these 10 shlokas, maybe some 5-6 times. Tomorrow evening again you come and recite the same shlokas repeatedly and the same time. So by allocating some time for shloka recitation, it could be 5 minutes or 10 minutes, and repeatedly reciting the same shlokas at the same time on a daily basis, within a week or so, you will remember all the 10 shlokas, even in that same order. So we have this Bhagavata Ratnamala and Gita Ratnamala Sloka compilations in our Vidyapit. So every day before our Vidyapit class begins, so we recite these shlokas. For example, we are discussing the first canto of Bhagavatam. So there are I had selected some most important shlokas from the first canto. So we take some 20 of them and recite these 20 shlokas at least 3-4 times in a slot of 15 minutes. And next day morning again we recite. Same. Like that throughout that 1 month of first canto classes, for 10-15 minutes we are reciting the same set of shlokas. By the end of the month, students memorize these shlokas, right? So you need to repeatedly visit the same shlokas, then it will go into the memory. And ultimately memory and recall is only a small aspect of Shastric study. we need to get into application. That will happen. That will happen eventually. So, but let's in this session we are trying to learn the art of learning shlokas and memorizing shlokas. So, we have seen 10 reasons why we have to learn shlokas, and we have seen 5 ways of how to learn shlokas, right? So, first reason is, first way of learning shloka is fall in love with the meaning or melody. Second, hear proper pronunciation. Third, become familiar with the meaning and tune. Fourth, repeatedly recite. Fifth, allocate a proper time for that recitation on a daily basis, preferably on a daily basis if you recite. Even if you allocate 5-10 minutes in a day also and recite only 5-6 shlokas, within a week they will sit in your memory. Then you can take another set of shlokas. Like that anyone can memorize, especially children can easily memorize, because at that tender age, they don't have many things filling their mind. So this pure sound vibration of Gita and Bhagavatam can easily enter their minds. So if they become familiar with at least the shloka, recitation of shloka and memorizing that shloka, they can definitely meditate on the meaning of the shloka as they grow up, right? So I hope these few words of glories of learning shlokas are of some inspiration to the devotees. So thank you all very much. There are many more things to learn. So actually the shlokas of Bhagavatam or Bhagavad-gita are non-different from Krishna. There is one shloka, Krishna tulya Bhagavata vibhu sarvashray prati shloke prati akshare nana arthakai. So Krishna tulya Bhagavata, Bhagavatam is non-different from Krishna. Vibhu sarvashray prati shloke prati akshare. In every shloka, in every akshara means syllable, nana arthakai, there are multiple meanings, right? We can actually become familiar with all these meanings and all this nectar of Krishna's Nama Rupa Guna Leela by coming closer to the shlokas. And of course we need to also balance. So it's not necessary that everyone has to memorize so many shlokas only. Even if one becomes familiar with the meaning and then understand the shlokas in a language that is more natural for that person also, it's fine. So this memory and recall of the direct Sanskrit shlokas is definitely purifying and enlivening. But if one is not that familiar or not comfortable with it, that's also fine, no problem. We don't have to pressurize ourselves so much. More important than memorizing the shloka is to apply the shloka in one's life. Appreciate the meaning of the shloka and make a humble attempt to apply that shloka in one's life. So we need to balance, right? One should not become proud that I know so many shlokas. Okay, one may manage to memorize so many shlokas, but if that is leading to pride in a person, then Krishna is not happy. So yeah, we can try to learn shlokas. If you are unable to learn for some reason, that is also, one should not feel so disappointed or discouraged or depressed, right? One can definitely try to become familiar with the meaning of the shlokas at least and try to apply them in one's life, right? That application is more important than memorization. That's why initially I said parrot-like repetition is not sufficient. An ability to apply the meaning in one's own practical life is more important. So thank you all very much. So with these few words I will conclude. Shrimad Bhagavad-gita ki jai, Shrimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.